listening to You've Got 5 Options show,
where every week Marta and Anna abandon their 5 children, 2 partners and 1 cat to make a show especially for you.
An artist, a challenge, a bullshit, a wisdom, and a surprise. Tune in and feel the magic of 5.
Hello everyone, this is Marta.
And this is Anna.
And this is You've Got 5 Options show.
And we are back after our summer break that we have spent in different places. I have decided to stay in Denmark due to ever-changing roller coaster of regulations. And Marta, you have been to Poland.
So surprisingly, unlike it used to be in our youth, I'm the risk taker. I'm the wild one who has taken her whole family back to the very dangerous place of Poland.
Yes, it's very dangerous. Is it?
No, not really.
No, not really.
Just,
but
building
that's
some tension.
Yes, it's a good tension you are building. But yes, that was our summer. Marta in Poland and me in Denmark. Yet the summer break was on. So welcome back, everyone. Not sure if you are still on holidays, planning to go, or just came back. But you are allowed to listen. You are most welcome to listen to our show. We are back. There will be, however, small changes. You've Got 5 Options is changing frequency of a podcast and of how often we are going to be on the radio. And there is a very good reason for that.
There is a very good reason for that, and luckily we are not changing the frequency of vibration.
No.
We are still going to absolutely pull it off.
Yes.
And deliver our best.
Yes.
And a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
Useful.
And cool English accents. That's us.
Yeah. But
yes.
the reason why we are not going to be present anymore in your podcasting app every week, but every other week, is that a new baby was born.
Yes, not okay. We still have together 5 children, and we are planning to keep it that way. But we are having a new podcast baby, I guess this is how we can call it. We have decided, because obviously we have so much time in our lives, we have decided to create a brand new podcast. So now the 5 Options, this is how we now call our little podcast collective, is releasing 2 different shows. One is You've Got 5 Options that you are listening to right now, and this will still keep the format of a talk show and of a program where we solve your life challenges if you send them to us, because otherwise we don't know what your challenge is. We are still not that evolved to pick it up telepathically, but who knows?
Sometimes.
So we are keeping You've Got 5 Options as a talk show, as a challenge-solving podcast. So guys, just if you have any challenge, life challenge, professional challenge, remember to send it to us at the5options.com, and you can see on a front page that there is a very encouraging, welcoming section where you can basically submit your challenge anonymously. And we will definitely do also other shows. As you know, we do a variety of different topics. I know that for sure we will come back to the predictions for 2020 that we made at the beginning of the year. And just before summer, we had a show when we talked about 10 things that you missed while you were reading about coronavirus. And we will also follow up on those news at the end of the year to see if something changed or happened. So stay tuned. Don't unsubscribe. You will get a podcast every 2 weeks, but it will be as fun as always. Then I guess we can say a little bit about our new podcast. About
Exactly.
I'm sorry, I was taken
not
over.
The name.
What the hell was that?
Yeah, okay, so
Marta
I'll
is
just
shocked.
say...
Dennis is not saying anything.
Yeah.
Just say.
The new podcast is a good one, unlike the introduction that Anna made. But the new podcast is called ta-da-da-da-da-da-da,
Small Business Rising.
and the reason why we are doing this kind of podcast is
Because we want to support, promote, and inspire others to build strong local communities and support small business in local communities, which we believe is more important than ever, especially after we have seen what 2020 serve us. I think that many small businesses are now in a difficult situations, and I believe that small businesses are the soul and the heart of communities. So we are starting a new podcast where we will talk about small businesses, how to support them. We will have fantastic, interesting guests, entrepreneurs, consultants, and we will also talk about community building, how to build strong communities, about ideas how to do it. We will also feature some interesting communities from all around Jutland in Denmark. But for our international listeners, please don't give up on the podcast before you even started to listen, because most of the information will be very universal and can be applied anywhere in the world. There will be some specific Danish local maybe things, but then you can actually just listen to it out of curiosity and maybe feel inspired to do the same solution in your local community.
absolutely. And if you are someone who actually has your own business and you are starting to think, is it for me? And you are a person that wants to get rich very quickly or want to be an influencer with millions of followers, that might not necessarily be something for you unless your main purpose is actually to share your heart, share your passion, and do something meaningful, something that makes a difference, something that supports local communities.
Yes, totally, Marta. Thank you very much for adding that, because it's very important. I was looking at different podcasts out there about small businesses, and many of them are focusing on, how to make money fast, or, how to become an influencer. And there is a lot of technical information, and I think some of them are valuable. And our podcast will also have some of those information there, but the purpose is not to become, very rich very fast. The podcast is to build something meaningful and sustainable within your local community. So we want to believe that it will be very authentic, intimate, heartwarming, and inspiring. So we would really like to invite you to give us a chance and listen to the other one. It will be released mid-September. You will always find information under the 5options.com, because that website is our home website. Now it will become the collective, the podcast collective starting page. So you can always go to the 5options.com and find information about our new podcast, Small Business Rising. And with that introduction, I think, Marta, we can tell people what they can expect today.
Yes, today we will be solving a challenge.
Yeah.
And this challenge is actually how to build a life you don't need a vacation from. So that's a big challenge to solve that we have. We have received a challenge, which we are going to read in just a moment. And in the meantime, I'm wondering if we could have our wonderful technician who is about to leave us.
Yeah, and we are trying not to take it personally, but somewhere deep down, I have my suspicions.
If we could maybe ask you to tell a few words to our listeners. Tell us what you're gonna do instead of being here.
Yes.
I'm sad leaving you guys. I hope you know that.
Yeah, we are trying to believe that, yes.
But what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be the in-house sound technician for a communications company, small business like you're talking about. They built it from the ground up and they're really good at it. and they were contacted to produce an hour of satire radio on national radio. But they said we don't do satire, we do storytelling, we do communications, we do it. They're a journalist and a photojournalist, so they have their craft in order.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't do satire, so yeah, I sold myself and my friend Magnus. We can do that. We can talk for hours and make people laugh and say shit on radio, and we've been giving almost completely free range to say whatever we want on national radio 1 hour a week.
That's fantastic.
That's pretty exciting, and I can reveal that this Sunday we Magnus wrote a song. It might be a controversial song, but we hope it's gonna get traction nationally. It's a song about a politician who just became the vice head of a party, who rides on a wave of Christian national conservatism from Hungary to Poland and now in Denmark. Mm-hmm. He's trying to do the same here, and so we wrote a song about him.
And that's gonna go live nationally in Denmark on Sunday.
Sunday, 8:05 in the evening, every Sunday.
And which channel is that? Channel 4?
On Radio 4.
Radio 4.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I will even try to find that radio. And that sounds fantastic, especially that you have a free range in saying what you feel like. Dennis, I will be honest, it sucks. It sucks for us, it doesn't suck for you. It's fantastic. It's great. It's something that, we all in local radios, we really hope for, to get a break on a national radio. No one wants us, by the way. We are still surprised. Probably because we speak English on our radio show, but this is fantastic. This is basically, that level where people in a local community radios, they want to have a chance like this. So fantastic, great job. All the best from both of us, and I hope that you will become rock stars and superstars, and then you will pull us with you somehow, like invite us, or no, you probably cannot speak English on a national radio, right?
Yeah, sure you can.
Okay, well then just keep our number, Dennis.
It's talk radio, so you'd fit right in.
Yeah.
But it would be in English, of course. Unless you can get your Polish hour or something.
Polish hour. Well, with my Polish, it would be quite an interesting hour of guessing what she meant.
But it was, like you say, it is a chance that many people hope for, and it fell into our laps, and we had to jump on it right away.
Yeah. So, guys, this is the very last show where you can hear Dennis with us. And let's make a good one then. And we hope that we will sit in one radio station again one day, talking and chatting, because that would be all. And that would be great. And Dennis, you were with us, 2 years?
A year and 7 months.
Yes, you are right. It was the beginning of 2019.
Yeah.
Yes, so quite a long time.
I will be missing it. It has been a very, very, for me, very interesting journey. Listening to you and your guests and the subjects that you've talked about for all this time.
Okay.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you, Dennis. It means a lot.
Thank you, Dennis. The warmest of congratulations and the best of the blessings for your new journey.
And for our listeners that will miss Dennis, then you know where to find him. You definitely need to tune in on Saturday. It will be Saturdays, usually. Sundays from 8 to 9 in the evening, Radio 4, national radio.
Yeah.
I'm not jealous at all.
And if you don't speak Danish, you might find it a little bit hard to understand, but you can still listen to Dennis.
Yeah.
I have the last question. What happens with Torsdag with Magnus Madsen?
That's ending too.
That's ending too?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that was actually the podcast that Magnus was having. We actually were guests. That was also the local radio program that Magnus was.
Yeah. And of course, in these podcast times, you can hear the radio show anytime you want as a podcast. Just go to their website, Radio 4,
And they will
That'd be
release it
great.
as a podcast. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you so much. I can think that probably this challenge that we are solving today is not very current for you as you are just starting a new journey. But we will nevertheless be happy to hear your opinion. And if you could play the jingle for Challenge of the Week, if that
Because-
still works,
Because
that
why
would
not?
be great.
For the last time.
A very challenging challenge of the week. Challenge.
Thank you. So I'll just go ahead and read the challenge.
Read the challenge.
So, I just came back from vacation, and after a couple of weeks, I am supposed to be fully recharged and ready to come back to work and quotation marks normal life. Instead, I feel like I just want to lie down in my bed and hide under the blanket. I simply can't imagine entering the treadmill again. I am really grateful for being able to keep my job through the crisis, but the number of requirements, politics, and bureaucracy has increased so much that I completely forgot what I used to like about my job. All the mess also causes me to work longer hours, which I simply don't have because I need to run to pick up my kids and attend to all the commitments around their lives. Just thinking about my everyday life makes me need a vacation. I want the life I don't need a vacation from. How do I do that?
Where do we begin? It's a rather complicated and complex challenge, but unfortunately, I have a feeling it's quite common.
Well, I definitely have felt this way in the past. I definitely recognize actually living from vacation to vacation, just planning my next vacation, and then when vacation is over, coming back home and thinking, how the hell am I gonna continue doing that?
Yeah.
And definitely there is a lot to it because there is the whole topic of like what's up with the job. So like this whole thing could be a topic of itself. And another thing is like what's up with family. Like I don't hear anything about any form of father to the children. It feels like I'll give the name Alicia.
Alicia.
It feels like Alicia is feeling overwhelmed. It feels like she is taking a lot of responsibility in regards to her children and their life. So that's a whole other topic.
True.
So there is a lot in that challenge. And definitely we are very much looking forward to ever hearing from you, Alicia, back if our options, if our tips, if our take on it will be useful. It's not going to surprise you when I say that we have prepared 5 options.
No kidding.
That's true.
Yeah, Dennis had just exploded. I'm sorry, Radio 4, but he will not be available on Sunday.
Yes.
He will be here with us. We will put his head together. I was just trying. I know it's low.
So these 5 options, they can also be seen kind of like a 5-step process. That's something that you can also take as one step at a time. And especially when we talk about building a life you don't need vacation from, that may be a process that you need to take. Maybe it's not possible for everyone to just take one step, just say, okay, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to live life that I don't need vacation from. That might be a process that people need to take in order to find themselves there.
I completely agree. And I think that many people believe that, the solution is something very like one decision and everything will turn around, when I think in reality you have a very good point. It's actually quite complex because the job itself may not be the main problem.
Yeah, and when I was preparing the solution for that problem, for that challenge, I was actually thinking about this approach of like you could change it all by changing your mindset. So that was like you could work with your mindset, you could work with your feelings, you could work with your physical reality of how your life actually looks like, and so on. That was one of the approaches I was considering to bring. However, I have decided to do something different to maybe make it also quite nicely applicable as a process, something that you, Alicia, could get inspired by. So I will first tell the 5 options, and then we will dig into them. So the first step is to create a vision of the life you wouldn't need a vacation from. So basically starting from having any form of an idea or vision how that life would look like for you, Alicia. Then the second step would be to make a detailed review of your current situation and your priorities. Especially that we don't know where it hurts you most. Is it the job? Is it the family situation? Is it just an overwhelm from both? So that would be very advisable. Then the next step would be to find out what do you already know and what do you need to find out. The next step would be the grand research. And that would be to search your soul and also to perform the very down-to-earth research. And the last but not least would be to slice the elephant or simply identify your next best step. So these are the 5 options that we will be exploring today. And and let us dig into it. And whenever we need a break, we will play some good music.
Oh yes, we actually have a summer hit for you. We have a summer song because it's still summer.
Okay, so let's take the first option and then let's take a little breather with a summer song.
Why not?
Okay, so the first thing is to create a vision of the life you wouldn't need a vacation from. It's kind of like a starting point. Because you feel overwhelmed, you feel you want to hide under the blanket, you cannot enter that treadmill again. But what's instead, right? Because it could be pretty reckless, depending on your financial situation, depending on family situation, your children, to just simply stay under that blanket and don't come out. Although sometimes we need to do that as well.
True.
So basically a way to do it could be to find space. And that's always something that we are recommending a lot here at You've Got 5 Options. That was
You've got 5 options.
That was unexpected.
I hope it's not You've Got 5 Epsteins because
oh my God, no. Oh
that
my God,
is
no.
not the podcast you are listening to. No. Options. Okay.
So basically, get some space, and maybe that one day under the blanket completely could be a good way to start. And start describing your perfect day. Starting all the way from the morning when you are waking up, what would be the first thing you would be doing, how you would be feeling in it, what would be the next thing you would be doing, how you will be spending your day, what will you be working with, who will you be working with. Just step by step describing every hour of your perfect day. That's one way of finding or starting to create that vision of a life you wouldn't need vacation from. So it's like a visioning exercise. Have you ever tried something like that, Anna?
Yes, I did. And before we will get into my visioning, well, apparently I have a weird visioning just 2 minutes ago with the title of our podcast. But normally I have quite a good one. I think it is a very good point that you mentioned that, because we hear many times that, I don't like my life, or exactly, I want a life that I don't need vacation from. How do I do that? And imagining or visualizing it, not for the purpose like I imagine and it happens. It doesn't have to have this weird secret thingy. But if you don't know what you want, then how will you get it? Then you can actually fall easily into a trap where you do a decision, as you, Marta, mentioned, something like, I will quit my job, or I will do some drastic change, hoping that things will get better. But it's actually It might not solve the problem. You have to think, what is that life that you are trying to envision that you actually wouldn't like the vacation from? And I think many people stumble upon this step because you just asked me if I was trying to. And you also gave an example of trying to visualizing a day. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a very good approach, but it might be misleading because many people will fall into a trap of trying to redesign the elements of their current life in a way so it gets easier. Like, for instance, if I wouldn't have to pick up my kids, for instance, and someone would do it for me, that would be a better, day for me. Or if I could work from home instead of going to the office. And that might be some improvements on the current life, but it may not solve the problem. And I think that the vision itself, it's very important.
Well, that's just one of the ways.
Yes,
that's one of the ways because it can be a little bit difficult. Some people find it at least difficult, like try to imagine yourself in 5 years. Mm-hmm. And we have been talking about it many times in our show. And I still have it here as a proposal that you can, another way of visioning it could be imagine yourself in 5 years. What are you doing? Who are you? How are you feeling? Mm-hmm. And what do you have in your life? That's a great way. And I have been trying that for myself as well. And at the same time, I have tried describing the perfect day a while ago. And I found actually a lot of more detailed information out of it than from the other one. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of picking one at the beginning and trying to see what you'll find out from that, and then it could be trying the other one, building up onto whatever kind of way you know for yourself. You might know another way of creating a vision for yourself. I just wanted to ask you if you have tried that and what kind of impact it had on your life.
Well, I have tried that many, many times, to be honest, and sometimes the results are extremely surprising. I have now a current vision of how, for instance, one of the recurring exercises in my life that some people might think that are cuckoo and crazy, but I'm very used to that, is to write to myself a letter at the end of the year. And I usually write some sort of a summary of the year, not necessarily like in bullets, but more like everything that comes to my head. And then I put forward some sort of a vision or a intention of how I want the next year to end. Where am I at the end of the next year? And I, of course, describe it, so naturally the images are coming to my head. So you can, because I think some people are better with scripting. That's an alternative to visualizing. For instance, if you do the vision boards, you might be a person that is more prone to images. I am more prone to writing, so I script my future. And I remember the last 3 years when I did it, each time I was opening that letter on the last day of the year, surprisingly, almost everything that was written there was coming true, was actually happened. And most of the time, after a month in February, I already don't remember what I wrote in that letter because I only write it and I close it. And the rule is I don't open it until the next year. I don't know how this shit works. I will not give you any scientific explanation, nor I will give you any cuckoo explanation, because it's not like then based on the letter I put myself targets and goals. No, I don't know. I just write it, but it's an exercise where I really visualize or I write down what I want to do by the end of the year, what I want to have achieved. And beat me, I don't know how it happens, 90% to even 101 year. Every single thing came true. And I read it and I'm always like shocked because first of all, I don't remember what was in the letter. And then when I remind myself and I see that those things happen in my life, I don't know, maybe some kind of weird autopilot. I don't know what I did to myself, but everything in that year led me to the version that I described at the beginning of the year. So that I can recommend, but I will not explain you how it works. But it works, at least for me.
So now, Alicia, we have for you a few alternative methods, and just listen to which one sounds more interesting, which one resonates most with you. So the first step is to get some space, making sure that you can quiet your mind and that you can access your inner wisdom. And then you can either work with describing your perfect day or envisioning yourself in, for example, 5 years and describing how are you feeling, what are you doing, what do you have, who are you. Another way is to create a vision board. That's also a way to create a vision for yourself. And also scripting. So hopefully that is enough of the tools that you could pick and choose from in order to fulfill the first step, which is to create a vision of the life you wouldn't need a vacation from.
Yeah.
And now we would like to take a moment.
Yeah, a bit of a musical break, guys. We are having a single by Sabrina today, which is called Still Up. It was released at the very end of June, so it's a summer song, summer hit. She wrote it, composed it, and produced it herself. And we already had Sabrina's song Stack before on our show. So this is a second reveal, and I hope you will have a good summer listen and good summer vibe. Yeah.
Hi everyone, this is Sabrina. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you will enjoy my new single, Still Up. And I would like to thank You've Got 5Options for playing my song on the radio station. I wish you all a great day.
My eyes can't wait, keep me all night awake, 'cause all I ever want is your love. Enough is when you hold me tight, can't get you out of my mind, can't think of any but you. Your touch is what makes me stronger. Your eyes make me wonder, how could you leave me so soon? How could you leave me alone, my love? Still up, can't get you out, can't sleep, and it's so hard to keep my mind from thinking of you. You said I love you, baby, all your words are fake, baby, 'cause when I was not around you told them I am not the one that you want, just faked it. You blame it on me. Your touch is what makes me stronger. Your eyes make me wonder, how could you leave me so soon? How could you leave me alone, my love? You are all that I need. Wanna be yours. Want you to say it, give me love. Just be with me, How could you get away so easy? You could stay, want you here, but I'll never make a fool of myself. But I want your love, I want your love. You are all that I need. Wanna be yours. Want you to say it, give me love. Just be with me.
Thank you, Sabrina, for your song. It's always great to get songs from artists, aspiring, successful artists. And as far as we understand, Sabrina, you're doing everything or vast majority of
the work yourself.
So that's so admirable.
Yeah.
So,
So keep on going, girl, because it's going great, and I hope that you got the summer vibe. I imagine myself to listening to this song somewhere in some beach lounge, you know, like being somewhere at the sunset, and you know it goes in a background, and you are in a summer bar, you know, sipping something. Whatever you prefer. I prefer maybe with percentage, some others. Why am I even talking? I was trying to give you an idea of how I see this song fitting into the summer vibe, but I guess every listener can make up his own mind. Thank you very much, Sabrina, and we wish you more great songs. Yeah.
yes, thank you so much. And now coming back to solving a challenge, which is how to build a life you don't need vacation from. And we have just finalized the first step, which was to create a vision of the life you wouldn't need vacation from. And now we are going to step 2, which is a detailed review of your current situation and priorities. And here I would say there are also a few approaches, Alicia, you could choose from. One of the approaches could be to ask yourself a couple of questions. And one of the questions that came to my mind when reading your challenge was, where does it hurt you most? Is it the work life? Is it the family life? Is it your own, the way you feel about yourself? Where does it hurt you most? And where do you need a change right now? Maybe you need a bigger change in many different areas, but where do you need a change already now? So you could ask yourself those questions. And another thing you could do, which I strongly advise people to do when they are thinking about changing their life, it is to get clear on your priorities. Because sometimes we can take some decisions, also depending what kind of approach we have, how likely we are to be overthinking or underthinking the decision process. It's very, very good idea to think about priorities, to become clear with yourself, what are my priorities? So you could, for example, identify your top 5 priorities and, get it all in there, get your the part of you that is the part related to motherhood, to relationship, to work, to personal growth, to your physical part, like, I don't know, your diet, your fitness life, whatever it is. Just become like very, very broad about it, your social life, whatever comes. Identify your top 5 priorities and then rate them on a scale from 1 to 10. How do you right now feel in that priority?
And 1 is?
1 is feeling really bad about it, and 10 is feeling great about it. So what that will tell you is that's one of the ways to identify the areas where you need to change first, where the change is kind of like, okay, so if your health, for example, is at 2, maybe before you start even thinking about changing something about your work or about your family, maybe that's the first area you need to look into. So that's just a great way to kind of like first become clear on what are your top priorities and then see how you feel in those priorities. It's also like, it could be that you are like, maybe it's a temporary crisis at work. Maybe you normally really like your work. Maybe it's a temporary crisis because of new corona restrictions and so on. Maybe that's something you could work with and come back to being in a, feeling good about your job. But if your top priority is your children and being as much as possible with your children as they are small or whatever, that can provide you some valuable information. So this kind of priority review is a really, really solid work that you will be doing for yourself when designing the life you wouldn't need vacation from. And becoming very clear on what is your situation. Because, it's not very clear from that description. Are you married? For example, what's your financial situation as a family? Is that even a possibility that you could quit your job, or is that out of the picture whatsoever? So kind of like a detailed review of your general situation. That's definitely something that I would recommend to do to become wiser. And Anna, do you have any insights or any additions?
I have one insight, and I will try to keep it short and simple. So, of course, that might not happen, but I will try. When you were talking about priorities and rating the way you feel about them or in that area, I thought that this is an extremely important and for many people eye-opening exercise, because I actually have done it something similar myself, and I have also seen some people doing it. And let's say you have 5 priorities, and let's say number 1 is my job, my career, and the second one is my relationship. Let's take children for a moment out of it, right? And then you have, let's say, my physical fitness, whatever. But at this point of life, your number 1 priority is your career. And then you start to rate how you feel about it. And then you rate your career, let's say, with 2, right? And then you discover that your number 1 priority, you feel super low, super bad, not cool about it. But then when you start to rewind a couple of days or weeks or months later, you will discover you were not doing anything about that. That's why it can be very eye-opening, because many times the things we care the most about, we tend to procrastinate because we care so much about them. Then we are basically paralyzed about thinking to try to fix it, or we are just trying because, as a thing that is...
Yeah, we had a little... Yes, that was like a crescendo.
I will tell you what happened. It was a fly that pushed the button. I saw it. Or was it you, Dennis, trying to get rid of the fly?
I was trying to get rid of the fly.
But, guys, I saw what I saw. A big, fat, nasty fly jumped on the roadcaster and pressed a button with our intro. That's what happened, Dennis. And that's how we will keep it, because you are having your last show with full fame and glory. and professionalism. That was a fly and I saw it.
Thank you.
So basically, I think we might discover that our biggest priority, where we feel very bad about it, we were just trying to cast aside, because the things that are the most important and the biggest to basically deal with, we tend to push aside, and we take upon all other million topics that we can solve very quickly and get an instant yet very short-lived satisfaction. And that one priority that we really care about, we will just neglect like a middle child, and we will be I'm joking. I've heard that this is what happens to middle children. So yeah, that was my input to that.
Thank you. My middle child makes sure that he shall never be neglected, not even for 5 minutes.
Oh, no. He's very good at reminding about himself.
Yes. So thank you so much for that insight. Very valuable one. And I think work with your own priorities is something that is amazing that you can do for yourself. Now, let us move on to step 3, which is to make a simple list of what do you already know and a list of what do you still need to find out. Because we are, individual beings, and we are at a certain level in our lives where we might know more or less about ourselves. And I have worked with clients with whom, when going through visioning work, they had a super specific vision where they knew so much about themselves, and their work was to actually implement it. But I also have had clients who we work on a vision and they know very few. They don't have a very good idea. They only start to have the very, very first, very high level idea what that life could be. And there's another work to it, to deepening that vision, maybe working with the purpose, what's your purpose in life, and these kind of things. So depending on what kind of person you are and how much you have found out from the vision and how much you have found out from the priorities and current life review situation, one of the lists can be quite longer than the other. However, that's still an important step, because sometimes when these kind of life changes, it can feel so overwhelming, or it can feel like I have no idea what to do with my life. Okay, I can see I have a different vision and my priorities don't match the life that I would like to have and stuff. And, you get kind of scared and you are like, oh my God, my life is a mess. But when you ask yourself that question, what do I already know? Usually you start having at least the first points on your list, and you might surprise yourself that you might actually already know quite a lot.
Can you give us an example? What could end up on this list?
Yeah, of course. So, for example, when I was doing that for myself, because I came to a place where I felt that the work I was doing was no longer fulfilling for me, and that I needed to change something. And also because a full-time job plus 3 children plus a traveling husband was not any longer fitting my ability to
Stay sane?
to stay sane, let's put it this way. Or my body was not necessarily feeling like continuing to go 150% at a time, year after year after year. Anyhow, what has ended up on my list was what I already knew, was that I want to help people, that I want my job to be meaningful, that I want to have time for my children, that I want to still make sure that my relationship works. So I actually started to, when I saw how much I already know, it was a good start. And as I was doing this work, as I mentioned, it can be a process. For some people, it can be a couple of weeks. For other people, it can be a couple of months. For others, it can be a couple of years. My list of what I already know would just continue growing. But already in the first time, I knew that, for example, I want one of the things was that I want to first finalize like the retraining of myself before I quit my job. So, for example, I already know I don't want to quit my job right now. I first want to when I figured out it was I wanted to be, one of the things I wanted to do was to be a life coach, that I wanted to do that training first, that I was not a person that would quit a job without having a clear idea what to do. So that would be examples of things.
That is actually a great idea, because I think if you have a person that is like, okay, I hate my job, I want to quit, but I won't quit, and that person is not even clear why he or she cannot quit. And then you write on the list, I will not quit now until I will not, let's say, make a certificate. And then suddenly the prison you are in, the job you are in, it's actually not a prison. Then you understand that, okay, so basically, I'm staying here because of my own choice, because first I want to finish something else. Great example, Marta. Just the last question. What was on the list at that time of the things you didn't know?
So I didn't know, for example, how exactly I want to help people. So even when I have decided to do my coaching certificate, I didn't know if I wanted to be a coach. So for example, that was on my list. I don't know if I want to be a full-time life coach. But what I already knew, and that was on my list, that coaching skills will always be useful for me, no matter what I decide. At the very beginning, I was considering also becoming a manager, like a people leader. I was considering taking an education in psychology. So I was having I didn't know exactly what it was, but I knew that at least the coaching certificate, that's something that no matter which path I will end up choosing, that's something that I will be using in the future. So I actually didn't know who I wanted to become when I was doing that work for the first time. I didn't know. Yeah, I think that would be the main things, that I didn't know actually who I want to become. I think that's a pretty big one.
Yeah, it's a pretty huge one. But the things you put on the list that you know or knew at that time were a great guidelines to actually get into that place and discover who you want to be. I think this is a fantastic step and fantastic exercise. What do we have in number 4 then?
Yeah, I really, really want to underline that you will surprise yourself how much you already know. Or if you are like a know-it-all style person, you might surprise yourself that you have some gaps.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the step number 4 is the grand research. And this grand research has 2 main legs and many hairs on that leg, on both legs, if I can put it this way. But anyway...
Gross.
Why gross?
I see some kind of a huge, gigantic insect, like I don't remember how to pronounce it. Okay, I won't talk about this. Go, Marta, go.
Okay, so the grand research would be about one thing, searching your soul. So that would be really about what do you truly desire for yourself in life? What is your purpose here? What do you want? What's the bigger reason for you to be here? What it is that you, from a higher perspective, like literally, if you were when you die at some point, and you will, how do you want to be remembered? So that's this higher level research, and also this simple daily exercise of quieting your mind and listening to your guidance. And what's the right thing for me to do today? What can I already do today? What do I need to discover about myself to be able to know the next step? So it is from that huge, or from this high perspective of what's the higher reason for me, and also for creating everyday connection with yourself, so that you can kind of take a daily step towards finding out how to build a life you wouldn't need vacation from. And then there's, of course, the very down-to-earth research of the possibilities. Because, of course, it depends. Because here again, there will be some people who will know very clearly what exactly they want to do instead. Then you need to research how can you do it.
Yeah.
If you don't know what it is, which was the truth for me, which I knew I don't want to continue doing this kind of work for the rest of my life, but I had no idea what to do instead. Then I needed to start researching what are the possibilities from the few information that I knew, needed to test them out somehow, and then get wiser and wiser with time. So depending on where you stand, what do you already know about yourself, your grant research might look very differently. And the last option or the last step is slicing the elephant.
Figuratively, I would like to remind to all of our listeners, just in case.
That we are not actually slicing any animals.
No.
We are vegetarians.
That was season 3. We don't do that anymore.
Okay. So, or simply identifying your next best step.
Yeah.
That really depends where you are. Because if you get a very clear vision of changing your life from being this working mom with children into becoming an, independent singer, that might look like a pretty big elephant
To slice,
to deal with. And you can easily get discouraged if it goes this way. So basically, I don't know if you have those skills personally to slice the elephant and create a good plan for yourself, or using a coach, a mentor, or someone alike would be a good idea for you. It is a amazingly good idea to slice the elephant, because you can either get discouraged or you can put too much work on your plate. You can get,
You might overlook something.
Yeah.
Because when you are slicing, you also discover that there were some elements that were not on the elephant that you thought at the beginning. You might actually discover that there is something missing in between. So it's actually it's good to have that overview in steps. I agree completely.
Yeah, and also it's good to review that overview all the time. So it's not to set one grand plan, and if something goes wrong, you throw it all to the rubbish, because it's life and it's 2020.
Exactly.
Plans can change very easily, very quickly. Everything can go upside down. So there is also this life flexibility that is required here. And or identifying your next best step. Because as we mentioned, depending on how much you already know about yourself, if that's not much that you know about yourself, so what's your next best step? Because I found myself in that situation, and my next best step was to find out, what the hell am I here for? So I started my purpose work. I wanted to figure out what is my purpose, because I felt like I didn't know enough in order to be able to redesign my life. So that's something that I believe that when you have created a vision of the life you wouldn't need a vacation from, you would make a detailed review of your current situation and especially your priorities. And when you would make a list of what you already know and what do you still need to find out, and would make your grant research based on that, you would be able to slice the elephant and or identify your next best step. And we are about to finish that show. So Anna, any final insights for Alicia?
Well, Alicia, I think that you got a handful of tools here today, and I think that there is a lot of things to choose from, but I think they do come as a process. So I would definitely start with number 1. But a lot of those tools that Marta today talked about, I can personally guarantee for. I tried them and they really work. So good luck in designing the life you don't need vacation from.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we still have 1 minute. So Dennis, just say a proper goodbye to our listeners.
Goodbye. I've enjoyed talking to you. I hope that I've not offended anybody, and that I haven't been completely idiotic.
Not completely.
Not completely.
Not completely. You know, we are completely idiotic. You are maintaining the level.
Yeah, that could be a comment on the issue, because set yourself up for success.
That's true. Well, but it was a pleasure to have you, Dennis, and we will see if the next technician will be taking part. Maybe I will not allow him.
It's
So-
been a pleasure working with you.
It's been
Thank
a pleasure,
you,
Dennis.
Dennis.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
The
guys.
magic number.
To catch up with our previous programs, apply to be our guest, send us your life challenge, or just to see how do we really look like, visit our website, the5options.com.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and that you will come for more. That's all, folks!